Once you understand this, your IELTS reading score can improve surprisingly quickly. I'm talking about knowing how IELTS reading tests really work and avoiding the traps that make students lose marks for reasons that have little to do with their English skills. I've seen this in real exams myself, and so many of my students improve their reading scores using the same 7 strategies I'm going to share in this video. Let's start with a common expectation, which is often not true, and this is expecting to locate your answers too quickly. I think the best way to explain is to show you 2 real examples from official practice tests, and you'll see for yourself. Take this example about the cockapoo, a parrot. The statement says there are other parrots that share the cockapoo's inability to fly. And in the passage we read, "It is the world's only flightless parrot. That is enough. We don't need to read the whole paragraph." There is a direct contradiction, and we can immediately say the answer is false. But it doesn't always work this way. Let me show you another example from part 3. That's why we have yes, no, not given questions instead of true, false, not given. Look at this statement. Phones have a greater impact on our stress levels than other electronic media devices. And you may soon find this sentence, repeatedly checking your phone is related to stress. Okay, so that's the part of the passage where the answer is. But to actually say what the answer is, you need to read it all only to figure out the answer is not given. And this is a very important point. That's exactly why section 3 is harder. You need to locate the criteria of the passage. But then you need to read sometimes like the whole paragraph carefully enough to see what is really being claimed and what is not. And this point is not only true for not given answers or yes, no, not given questions. There is an overall trend you can see throughout your reading section. And if you expect to find your answer quickly and then you can't, it's very easy to rush the decision to save time and get your answer wrong. So that's where mistakes start to happen. And that leads us directly to the next trap. Because once you finish answering the first set of questions, it's easy to assume that answers to the second set will be further down the passage. Is it true? And in older tests, that was often more or less true. If you have a look at this old example from official Cambridge practice tests, so this one is number 16, which was published 4 years ago, but I know many students are still using it today, so here the structure is quite tidy. We have 2 sets of questions, and you can answer the first set by reading the first half of the text and answer the second set in the second half, a clear order. And some students still expect to find the same order in current tests. And don't get me wrong, you may or may not. Like in this test, I want to show you. So you've seen the passage again. It is coming from book number 20. And again, we have 2 sets of questions. And you can find some of the answers to the first set at the beginning of the passage. Then there are some paragraphs with no answers at all. But you cannot continue reading the passage. You need to return earlier because some of the answers to question set 2 overlap with the earlier part of the text. And this is one reason why reading now feels less predictable to many students. And it's not always enough to just read the passage from start to finish. You really need to find where your answers are. Once you locate where the answer is, you need to figure out what the actual answer is. And there is a very common misunderstanding in IELTS. It's related to true, false, not given, and yes, no, not given questions. And this is misunderstanding not given answers in particular. Here's how it works. You read the question, you start reading the passage looking for your answer, and after some time, you cannot find it. And you say, okay, it's not given. This is not how it works. Let me show you an example you've seen before. So, phones have a greater impact on our stress levels than other electronic media devices. So, first of all, we've already located the paragraph. This part is similar, but we need to say if the whole statement has the same meaning as the passage, it means yes, or there is a direct contradiction. So our statement says that phones have a greater impact than other electronic media devices. So we need this comparison. Can we find it? Well, actually, no. So we can't say if phones have a greater impact or a lesser impact, and this means the answer is not given. So not given doesn't mean the passage says nothing about this area at all. It means the passage doesn't give enough information to decide. And this leads us to the next point, because one reason students sometimes struggle to find their answers is that they're looking too much for the same words. And don't take me wrong, keywords are great, and I still recommend underlining them in your questions to know what you're looking for. So students are often told to look for keywords, and this is good advice, but it often turns into a very narrow strategy. Find the exact same words. There are really two kinds of keywords. Some are repeated, like Matt Elliott, Polynesian settlers, feral cats, the 1970s, or stress. Those words will appear again in the passage exactly or almost exactly like that. Keywords that are often repeated are names, dates, places. The second type is where many students lose marks. These are the words that are paraphrased. Again, some examples from our test. Bad news is negative information. Inability to fly is flightless. Danger is threat. To have impact on our stress levels is related to stress levels. What does it show us? The key words that are often paraphrased are verbs, adjectives, and broad ideas. Concentrate on the meaning and not the words. And that matters even more in the next section. Confusing tasks that look similar but work differently. This is a very easy mistake to make. So have a look at two matching tasks. Both are based on the sections of the passage. Both ask you to connect sections of the text to something in the question. On the surface, they look quite similar, but they're not testing the same skill. With matching headings, the task is to choose the heading for each section. And the real question is, what's the main idea of this paragraph? With matching information, the question is, which section contains this information? And that's why students get caught in matching headings. For example, it's very easy to choose a detail covered in the paragraph instead of the overall meaning. And quite often, there will be headings that reflect those details. Basically, traps. You should ignore them and concentrate on the main idea. And vice versa. In matching information, you should really concentrate on locating that specific information in the passage. One thing that's similar between matching headings and matching information is how you solve them. You start with the passage. You read section A, match it. And it's very easy to assume that all matching tasks work the same way, but that's not true. So matching sentence endings is different. And here, starting with the paragraph is not the most efficient strategy because the questions are in order. It means the questions are asked in the same order. So you're going to answer question number 31, then 32, and so on. A much more efficient approach is to start with questions. Read the sentence beginning. Find where that idea appears in the passage, and then choose the ending that fits both the meaning and the grammar. In IELTS reading, it really does help to understand the different task types, how they're built, and what strategy works best for each of them. Another problem that becomes obvious quite quickly is that 60 minutes is not much time for IELTS reading if we put it mildly. And this piece of official instructions make things even worse. If I open an official test, one of the first things I read is you should spend about 20 minutes on questions 1 to 13. Basically, on the first section, it sounds reasonable. So 3 passages, 60 minutes, 20 minutes each. But passage 1 is usually easier, passage 2 is harder, and passage 3 is usually the slowest and most demanding. So try this time split and see if it works for you. 15 minutes for passage 1, 20 for passage 2, and 25 for passage 3. And please note, it doesn't mean passage 1 matters less. You still need to make sure that doing it faster doesn't mean doing it less accurately. But passage 3 needs more time and you need to protect it. And if you're a stronger student, you may be able to move even faster and finish section 3 with a few minutes to spare. Then you can check your answers or go back to the questions you couldn't answer straight away. And of course, to practice your timing, the test should be just like the real exam test, right? And this leads us to the next point. Relying too heavily on practice materials that are not that close to the real thing. The official Cambridge books are the closest to the real test because Cambridge English is the organization that writes the exam papers. Older Cambridge books are very useful. They may take you 70 or 80% of the way there, but if you want the closest possible practice, then the latest Cambridge books are better. And that's especially important now because some of the newer patterns in reading feel less predictable than they used to. And I would also be careful with tests from other platforms. Even IDP or British Council materials are slightly different from Cambridge. And tests from unofficial platforms may be even further away. They may be simpler, more difficult, just different. They may contain mistakes which will confuse you. And thank you so much for watching me today. This is Sophia Bechtel from ABC IELTS, and if you found this helpful, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with anyone who is preparing for IELTS. Good luck with your preparation and your exam.